Hi, it's Dorothy Guinan with Scrapbooking Quebec. This week I'm joining the Punched Out Thursday to Die For collaboration. We share ideas every Thursday on what to do with your punches and your dies. I will put links to all the other participants below, so be sure to check out their channels for more tool inspiration. And in this video, I am going to be creating a double page layout. I'll be using dies, punches, and an embossing folder to embellish my page. Also, I'm going to be using a sketch by Allison Davis from the Scrapbook generation for inspiration. So here's the material I'm going to be using, and it's all from Simple Stories and mostly from the Full Bloom collection. And you can also see the sketch there. This one is a freebie from the Scrapbook generation, and I found it while watching an Allison Davis video on YouTube. The video was Sketch Support number 20, and I will link it up below. And this is a great series in which Allison shares sketches and explains many different ways for using them. If you don't know her, she's a fabulous teacher and a valuable resource, so make sure you check her out. Here are the tools I'll be using, and I'll talk more about them throughout the process, and I will list everything I'm using in the description box below. So here's what's on my desk. That's the cover sheet to the Full Bloom collection. That diagonal print is basically the jumping off point for my color scheme for this layout. I'm showing you a bunch of other papers here. I also matted my photos in advance with yellow cardstock from Simple Stories. These smaller ones here, I actually have 2 extra layers of hidden cardstock behind that yellow photo mat. Basically, that will help bump up those photos from the page a little bit. It'll make them just raise up a bit off the page. So I have scraps of paper, the sketch, those foam alphas from Simple Stories, and I do have some embellishments from the Full Bloom collection. However, mostly what I'll be using are my tools. And my tools are in this basket, but I will be digging into them a little bit later on. So that's my foundation page, those 2 diagonal stripe prints. I'm showing you the sketch here. I'm more or less going to be following the sketch. That row of smaller photos, I have different dimensions than what are indicated on the sketch, but the positioning of them will be identical. And that's what I'm showing you right now. And above that row of photos that spans towards the right is a mat. I'm going to be putting white cardstock there, and it's there where I am going to be putting my title along with my embellishing. It's actually that part of the sketch that attracted me to use this sketch for a Punched Out Thursday to Die For. I thought it would be a great place to showcase embellishments that I created with my tools. So now what I'm going to do is cut up a bunch of paper. So this is going to be that mat that spans across the 2 pages. I will slow my film down in a little bit, and I will put measurements for all of these page parts on the screen when I place them to the page. But what I would like to point out is the measurements that I list will be for visible page parts only. I cut some of them larger and overlapped a bit, and you'll see that when I adhere them to the page. Those smaller pieces on the left are for the left page, and the longer pieces on the right are for the right hand page. So now I'm about to place everything on the 2 pages. It's here where I will be putting the measurements. Again, keep in mind the measurements are for visible page parts only. So watch what I'm doing here. I will put an asterisk beside the measurements that are actually cut larger than the measurement listed on the screen. So you can see for each side I have a large white piece, a narrow white polka dot piece, an orange piece, and then a narrow white piece. I'm placing everything on the page here. Later on, I will fill in that white spot with a title and embellishing. But first, what I want to do is create a hidden pocket behind that large format photo. Now, this is not on the sketch, but I am making it work for me. I have tons of photos. This is a double page spread documenting an excursion I took while on vacation in Jamaica, and I took tons of photos. So I just want to add more photos on this page, just kind of extra photos, and this is where I'm going to place them. I'm creating a pocket here. Basically, I cut a piece of paper that I didn't mind hiding, and I cut it just the just a little bit smaller than that large format photo. I'm adding score and tape to 3 sides of it. It's a heavy duty tape, great for anything interactive. So I'm creating a pocket with it. I left the left hand side open, or that's where I'm positioning it. I'm positioning the opening part of the pocket on the left hand side. That's because I use Creative Memories page protectors and the opening is on the side. If I had a top loading page protector, I probably would have made the pocket at the top of the photo. So I'm just showing you how later on in the video I plan to create that insert with photos and journaling and a little bit of embellishing. Now what I want to do before I start adhering is just work a bit with that white cardstock that's going to go across the 2 pages. So I'm going to adhere the 2 pieces together with this mint tape from the scrapbook.com just to hold them in place temporarily. And you can see I have a stencil out of sunbeams, and I also have my Vicky Bouton stencil brush. So I'm basically stenciling in sunbeam lines that are going to go across the 2 pages. That's why I adhered them together. And there you can see it, and I'm quite happy with it actually. So at this point I decide I'm going to use that same mint tape and use the technique where I adhere the 2 foundation pages together temporarily while I build my double page spread. And it's a great technique to use when you are creating a double page spread and you have a lot of elements that are kind of spanning across the 2 pages. It just makes positioning quick and easy. I often use it, but I often don't use it on YouTube just because I have a tripod over my head and it's kind of awkward, the 24 by 12 canvas. Anyway, what I'm doing right now is working on that white at the top. I'm adhering that. And then you're going to see me adhere the white part at the bottom. And the reason why I'm starting at the top and at the bottom, it's because the positioning of that is really important. Basically, I want that mat that spans across the 2 pages to start at the top of that large format photo and end at the bottom of it. So once the white at the top and at the bottom are positioned, then it's easier to work with the piece that goes across the middle. So what you'll see me do in a minute is just simply adhere that white polka dot strip on top of that orange paper. I do that to both sides, and then I adhere those 2 strips in between those white strips on both pages, and my mat across the 2 pages will be finished. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to this large format photo because there's 2 things I want to point out. Number 1, the positioning of it, the placement of it. What I'm thinking of when I place the photo to the page is I want the margin on the left-hand side to be identical to the margin on the right-hand side. So when I'm positioning the photo, I'm thinking about that. There's another thing I'm thinking about. I use that same score and tape to adhere this photo down because that pocket's going to be manipulated. It's going to be interactive. So I really wanted a strong tape there. But what I did was I put it on all 4 sides. When I adhered the photo, I just removed the wax paper for one side, positioned the photo straight, then I adhered the other 3 sides because it's a really sticky tape. If I did all 4 sides at once, I risked putting the photo down crooked. Off camera, I adhered the other 4 photos, and I also did some faux stitching around that white cardstock. And you see me finishing the faux stitching right now. I'm using an old retired template from Stampin' Up that has little holes in it. Then I have a sponge mat and a paper piercing tool. So I'm poking the little holes, and then once the holes are poked, then I'm going to take a fine tip marker and just join those holes together, and it looks like stitching. It's a great alternative to stitching if you don't have a sewing machine in your office or if you do not want to do hand stitching. Anyway, Tim Holtz has a ruler with the little holes as well, and if I can find the name of that product, I will list it in the description box below as well. Now what I want to do is work on my title. I know my journaling is going to go on that insert, and again, I'll work on that a little bit later on. And for my title's going to be A Sunshine Adventure. So and adventure are in those foam alphas from Simple Stories, and I put that on wax paper. And for the word sunshine, I have an old retired die set from Stampin' Up called Sunshine Wishes. And what I'm doing right now is I'm taking a piece of yellow cardstock and I'm backing it with some foam adhesive from the scrapbook.com. What I'm going to do after that is run that through my Big Shot. And my idea here is I want to punch out a dimensional word, sunshine. Now, I've never done this before, so I'm not sure at this point if it's going to work, but to my delight, it works like a charm. It cuts out very, very well. And that word sunshine is super, super detailed. The wax paper did kind of come off, but that's no big deal. The word cut out very, very well. So I just grabbed my own wax paper. I'm putting the word sunshine on it so that I can play around with placement of the title before I actually commit to adhering it to the page. And that's what you're going to see me do right now. I don't have the sketch on screen, but basically I'm following the sketch. The title is going to be placed just on top of that border of photos, and it's going to span across the 2 pages. So I'm going to put adventure at the bottom. I play around a bit with the word sunshine, but I decide I want that to kind of go across the 2 pages as well. And then I'm just going to put the letter A on top of it, and that's it. I'm not ready to commit, however. I do want to work on my embellishment. So I'm going to get out a few other tools here. And I'm going to get out a die set that's quite new to me, actually, from Elizabeth Craft Designs. It's a Ferns die set. And I also have, that's what I'm showing you right now from Elizabeth Craft Designs. I also have 2 circle punches, and I have an embossing folder from Stampin' Up called Coastal Weave 3D. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut out some fern leaves. I end up cutting a bunch more out off camera, but I'm going to cut out a few here right now. Now this is a fairly detailed die, so I'm just using my regular magnetic plate, which is what I almost always use. I'm running it through and I'm not 100% satisfied. It punches out pretty good, but I struggle a tiny bit, and I like my tools to work really, really well. You're going to see me cut out 2 of them, and then what I end up doing is stopping the film. I go get myself a little shim. I put it underneath that plastic plate, and then it cuts out perfectly. There's another thing I'm going to do in a minute as well. First of all, you're going to see me get out that shim, but after that, you're going to see me take that very same fern die, but I'm going to position it so that it kind of cuts out half the fern. You can see how I'm positioning it right there. Basically what I want are shorter fern leaves. Later on, what you're going to see me do with these is create palm trees. So I basically wanted branches to create a big palm tree and a smaller one. So that's why I cut out just half that fern leaf. I ran a piece of beige cardstock through that embossing folder, and now you see me cutting out a few circles in beige cardstock as well. So off camera, you can see I cut out a bunch of those fern leaves. I cut out some circles. I'm now adding some ink to those circles as well. And I'm taking that embossed piece of cardstock and just rubbing some ink on top of it. So what I'm going to do right now with that embossed piece is cut out a few strips, and those are going to be the trunks to my palm trees. Later on, you're going to see me come in and change those up a bit, but at this point, this is what I think I am doing. And then I'm going to just play around with positioning on the page. You're going to see me do that in a minute. Usually when I do a video for a Punched Out Thursday to Die For, when I create some kind of embellishment like this, I typically practice beforehand, but I didn't before this video, so I wasn't quite sure how this was going to turn out. So I do change a few things along the way. Anyway, for the palm tree, basically I took those fern leaves and kind of fanned them out, and I am quite happy with that. I put those circles in the middle, and you can see that I do have the trunks there. It's those trunks that later on I decide I don't like them. Right now what you see me doing is cutting out my own trunks with scissors. So I just kind of curved them a bit, and those are the ones I end up using. Right now what I'm going to do is adhere my title to the page. I'm not going to make you watch all of this, but basically I adhere the word adventure down. I'm taking that word sunshine that I cut out with my Big Shot. I cut it in 2. That's going to be adhered across the 2 pages as well. And again, I just put the word up above it. And I'm really happy with the title, actually. I do like mixing up fonts and mixing up colors. It's just fun to create dynamic titles that way. Now what I'm going to do is start adhering these palm trees to the page. So before doing that, however, you can see I adhered this sun down. That's actually a sticker that was in my kit this month from Bella Boulevard, Bella Pop. Anyway, if you don't have one of those, a sun is easy to make with punches. It's a circle and a few sticks coming out of it. So what I did was I adhered the trunk down, and now I'm using my adhesive sticky specks to adhere the palm leaves to the tree. And when I actually put the adhesive down, I'm only putting it towards the stem of the fern leaf. Basically, I'm leaving the ends of it more wispy just to add a bit of texture and dimension to the page. So you can see I adhered the second one down off camera. And now I'm coming in and I do want to do some finishing touches. So I'm going to work on this insert right now. And what I want to do is cut myself out a tab. I have a tab die from an Elizabeth Craft Design die set, and I will list it in the description box below. And from that same set, there was like this arrow that was almost like a paper clip. So I decided to cut that out as well. And when I cut out that tab, I cut one out in white heavy-duty cardstock as well, because that orange paper that's going to be the tab is just paperweight. And again, I wanted it to be more heavy duty, and you'll see that when I adhere it to that insert a little bit later on. For those palm trees, it was bothering me that I only had two, but I didn't have room for a third one. So I took some of those leaves and just tucked them coming out from behind that focal point photo, and I'm happy with that. I'm glad I did it. It gave me a third hit of green there and kind of like an indication of a third tree. Now I'm coming in with that sticker sheet and just looking for a few finishing touches. I'm putting a few options on scrap paper, and basically this collection, this full bloom collection, is a spring collection, and this is a tropical layout. So I don't have a lot of options here, but I have a few that it's like get outside and here comes the sun and a few words like that. So I put a few of those down in the bottom right. I put another one on that orange tab anyway, and now you see me adhering the pieces. So I'm coming in once again with those sticky specks, adding it to those ferns and putting it behind that focal point photo, and now I'm working on that insert. So I'm using that very same adhesive I used earlier, that score and tape, the heavy duty tape, to adhere that tab to my insert, because again, it's interactive. I want it to be heavy duty. Also, I'm taking a little piece of foam adhesive, and there's a little heart in the bottom right corner, so I just popped that up on foam adhesive. So pretty much everything is done here. All I did off camera, I just wanted to show you this, is I did add another piece of ephemera with a tab to that insert, and you can see I have photos along with all my journaling there. So this layout has 10 photos along with a bunch of journaling. So I'm quite happy with it. And basically that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would be absolutely thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Don't forget to check out the other ladies. Their links are in the description box below. And also, Allison Davis. Check her out if you don't know her. She is fantastic. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.